Good afternoon. This is Rich Nelson with Allendale. Covering the wrap-up commodity comments. Today is Wednesday, September 14th of 2011 here. Kind of like a light trading volume day here to speak of. And really, as far as news, we're not going to have any big major news stories here until obviously the potential frost here coming tonight. Beyond that, the next one in front of us as far as major news stories will be the September 30th grain stocks report, where USDA gives its final, well, not really final, but final version of old crop ending stock numbers. So we got those two in mind here. So frost up front as far as tomorrow night, or as far as tonight, but certainly between now and the September 30th, there is quite a bit of time here to basically have few numbers as far as market moving events. We are getting yield numbers here in the office, and quite honestly, it's still too early to say a general trend has been made yet. We hear everything from both higher than expected and also lower than expected. So for right now, we're not saying we're seeing a strong trend here just yet on early yields. As far as corn, up about $1.25, or I'd say $0.0125 here this morning. Soybeans down 9 cents, and wheat up 2.5 cents. As far as corn, well, really the only news story out this morning was a 7:30 release of weekly ethanol numbers here, and we did see that numbers drop from last week. The previous week number was 896,000 barrels per day. We did drop to 897 barrels per day average pace. But keep in mind, the number reported today also includes that Labor Day shutdown as well. So really the 879 we got in this morning is not that bad at all. In fact, so we've got a total of 9 days now through September of our brand new marketing year. And so far we are beating last year's pace in the same time. And so that's great to hear. Keep in mind, USDA thinks that ethanol will actually drop for this coming new marketing year, which we're in right now. So this is good. So far, ethanol, we are beating the pace we need to meet for USDA. For soybeans, we got to point out a few different stories out this morning. One thing I would point out is we did get the story that China bought 106,000 metric tons of U.S. beans overnight. That was good to see, but the trade is still keeping kind of a negative view on exports. The trade still believes that China is a bearish story right now for exports. We will note that for the short term, that certainly is true. We do expect that to change in a few months here. So for right now, the trade kind of passed by that story, saying, well, it's nice to see one overnight purchase, but we want to see more before we change our mind. Instead, they did look at the NOPA crush for the month of August. So NOPA is the private industry which covers soybean crush numbers here for us. They said that August crush was 3% lower than last year. Well, that was just down a little bit from the July pace. In July, crush was 1% lower than last year. So some people may have been a little disappointed with the August crush numbers. Over on wheat, we got two stories here to speak of. Of course, the big one is Egypt did have its big purchase. They did announce that, of course, Russia was the supplier for the entire wheat tender. They bought 420,000 tons, a very large tender, all from Russia. So in this one, you can't argue that sounds bearish, but honestly, as far as the U.S. wheat industry, we probably don't expect to see U.S. involved in many of these Egypt stories. So that maybe explain why the wheat actually did pretty well here today, considering that bearish news. We will also point out, based on FSA insurance numbers, which we have now in our office, the state of North Dakota, for instance, we could see USDA adjust their spring wheat planting numbers down by about 174,000 acres. Quite honestly, that number is a little smaller than many people want to believe and they've been hearing about, but that's what we compute. North Dakota spring wheat acres may be down about 174,000 acres, and USDA may recognize that next month in October. Over on livestock, certainly a better day for both cattle and hogs. Cattle up about $1.20 here today. This continues nothing but the last week and a half or so of straight gains for this cattle market. Great news there. Even though box beef this morning was kind of mixed, the trade is still keeping a pretty bullish view on cattle prices right now. They're getting some estimates in here for show list for this week's market-ready numbers available for packers, and they're still coming in a little smaller than last week. And last week, we actually had a good $4 rally in cash cattle. So the trade's still keeping a pretty good view on cash cattle prices right now. And also, you know what, we should be rallying as we go from summer into the very tight, generally tight fall-winter numbers. As far as hogs, up about $1.45 on the October contract today. Main news here is we are seeing a bump. It's going to last probably into maybe Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So we are in this little 1 to 2 week little rally time frame, which always happens at this time of year. We have news that China, of course, we have news that National Pork Month purchasing, which is going on right now. So October is National Pork Month. That certainly is the reason why we see a slight rally going on into next week. However, as far as today, we did get an extra boost as China's indicated that they have record pork prices. In the most recent week available, they indicated that pork prices actually rose 0.7% compared to just the last week. So this is certainly exciting. A lot of the U.S. trade wants to say that China is going to do a second round of buying, of big buying, in order to try and cool down this big pork price. Keep in mind, it's a little unusual for China to buy a whole lot of pork in non-summer months. So it's a great story for us right now. Great story to give us maybe an extra boost for another couple days. But in the big picture, this is generally not a story to get too excited about. Certainly not at this time of year, right when we are ready to have a second leg down in prices going from late September down through November here. So it's good to hear right now. Good to see this little rally, which will last in the next week, but we're not going to get too excited here. Overall, biggest news here is certainly yield reports. We want to encourage you guys to continue to call in, continue to tell us what's going on as far as your what you're hearing for early harvest yield numbers, and also, of course, tell us about this frost issue here. Let us know how your beans are faring. Certainly is a lot of people concerned about that issue here right now, and let us know how tomorrow's frost is going to turn out for you guys. Certainly for you guys who are in the northern border states. If you have any questions, give us a call here at Allendale, 1-800-262-7538. This is Rich Nelson. Have a good trading day and a good trading week.